News when you want it with Bloomberg News Now. I'm Nathan Hager.
And I'm Karen Moskow.
Let's begin this morning in entertainment and the announcement from the Walt Disney Company that ABC's Jimmy Kimmel Live will be back on the air tonight. Of course, the show was suspended last week after the late-night host made some comments about the assassination of conservative activist Charlie Kirk. It led two station owners, Nexstar and Sinclair, to say they would preempt the show indefinitely. Sinclair says it plans to keep doing so, airing news programming instead of Kimmel while they continue talks with ABC. Bloomberg's Chris Palmieri says questions remain over Kimmel's future.
There have been discussions at the highest level, we understand, from Disney CEO Bob Iger and Dana Walden, the head of TV, directly with Jimmy Kimmel himself over what the future would hold. Right now, we don't have any details in terms of what he's going to say on Tuesday, but part of that has, there have been calls from some of the station owners for him to apologize to Charlie Kirk's family, even make a donation. So whether that happens, we'll wait and see.
Bloomberg's Chris Palmieri says Disney contends it had thoughtful conversations with Kimmel. His contract expires next May.
Let's turn to Washington. Nathan, the Trump administration now advising pregnant women to avoid taking Tylenol, citing fears over autism. And Bloomberg's Amy Morris reports from the nation's capital.
The FDA recommends pregnant women talk to their doctors about any risks of taking Tylenol during their pregnancy. President Trump.
Acetaminophen, is that okay? Which is basically commonly known as Tylenol, during pregnancy can be associated with a very increased risk of autism.
Now, Health Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr. promised earlier this year to determine the cause of autism by September. That baffled brain experts who say there is no single cause and that the rhetoric appears to ignore decades of science into the genetic and environmental factors that can play a role. In Washington, Amy Morris, Bloomberg Radio.
All right, Amy, thank you. President Trump is now in New York City for the United Nations General Assembly. He will deliver the first address of his second term to the annual gathering of global leaders, and he has a raft of meetings, including with UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres. Last month, the White House announced that it would use this year's General Assembly to push other countries to adopt more restrictions on asylum. The president is also expected to address Israel's war in Gaza. Several nations have recognized a Palestinian state at this conference.
Well, Nathan, as global leaders flow into New York this week, some countries could look to upgrade their airline fleets. Transactions involving Boeing are by now a common feature of President Trump's visits with foreign leaders. Several countries, including Turkey, Morocco, and Indonesia, are considering or have announced orders for Boeing aircrafts. Through August, the plane maker has secured 725 aircraft sales versus 600 for Airbus, putting Boeing on track to outperform its European rival for the first full year since 2021. And checking shares of Boeing this morning, they are up more than 2.5%.
And checking now, a massive partnership between two AI giants, Karen. Nvidia plans to invest $100 billion in OpenAI, a deal that underlines booming demand for artificial intelligence tools like ChatGPT. Nvidia CEO Jensen Huang discussed the partnership on CNBC.
There's never been an engineering project, a technical project of this complexity and this scale ever. And it really just says that AI was in the early adopter phase in the labs, and finally it's breaking out into just about every single industry, every single use case we can imagine.
And alongside Jensen Huang, OpenAI CEO Sam Altman said the deal is critical to their goals.
Now that we really see what's on the near-term horizon of how good the models are getting, the new use cases that are being enabled, what people want to do, this is like the fuel that we need to drive improvement, to drive better models, to drive revenue, everything.
Sam Altman and Jensen Huang spoke on CNBC, marking a deal that's the latest and largest in a string of NVIDIA investments. This tie-up will fund new data centers and infrastructure equipped with NVIDIA's advanced chips.
And that's news when you want it with Bloomberg News Now. I'm Karen Moskow.
I'm Nathan Hager, and this is Bloomberg.